Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of No Way Jose, starring the Boston Mass himself, joining us all the way from the great state of Massachusetts. Please welcome Jose Raymond. What's up, Jose?
How we doing, Ron?
Good. Before we get into the main topic, a good friend of the industry, a good friend of yours, IFBB Pro Dusty Hanshaw, has been going through some health issues lately. Rather than me try to explain it, you're a little closer with him in the situation. So can you tell everyone what happened with Dusty?
Yeah, well, I've been in contact with his training partner. A group of us have been talking, whether one of us is talking to Evie, his ex-wife, or through Dante, or his training partner. We've been getting the information on a regular basis, updates. Now it's been 3 weeks. Over 3 weeks ago, he was eating steak, and a piece of steak got lodged in his throat, and it ended up like perforating his esophagus.
Oof.
And he was like choking and gasping and throwing up blood. And he didn't think that much of it. He was sending videos and pictures to friends, and until finally someone said, go immediately to the Mayo Clinic and get this treated. And he did. And in doing so, they realized, he had a really, thin esophagus that was I don't know the right word to say, but cut, and he was bleeding severely, and they had to put him out to stop the bleeding.
Yeah, I heard it was ruptured, like an exploded esophagus. Like if they didn't do that, he would have died.
Yeah. So he's been he was in a medically induced coma for 3 weeks, and they're allowing it to heal, because if he was awake, he would be swallowing and moving it around, and it wouldn't heal the same. So essentially he's in hell right now. And as of yesterday, I heard he's coming out of it, slowly waking up. I don't believe he's intubated anymore. He's breathing on his own, and he actually was responsive to a few different things and saying some wise ass Dusty Hanshaw stuff. So, which is a great sign. Yeah. But in doing so, he's been incurring somewhere around $20,000 a day, because he was intubated and all the medications and the hospital stays. And he does have health insurance, but it does not cover. This is something that people don't understand. It doesn't cover everything, and it certainly doesn't for the period of time at which he's going to be hospitalized. Mm-hmm. So I believe Dante started, or his mom started, a GoFundMe, and every little bit helps. Dusty has a lot of friends. He's done a lot for a lot of people, and anyone, if anyone can help out, please do. It doesn't matter how little or how big. He's in need, and if this were you or anyone, I would hope that as a community, the bodybuilding community would come together and help each other. So
that link, guys, it's right underneath the video. Please, anything, couple bucks, $5, $10, $20, anything you can give, it all adds up. And like Jose pointed out, anyone who's ever gone through a really serious medical situation or had a family member, they can tell you health insurance does not cover, in this country, it does not cover everything by a long shot. You're still going to end up with a lot of money being owed to the hospitals or whatever. So it's just put that out there, because I think some people say, well, why didn't he have health insurance? As you said, he had health insurance. If you've never had to deal with this, you guys, with you or your family, you're very fortunate. But those of you who have, exactly what's going on here. And medical care in this country, it's excellent, but it's also very, very expensive. So that's it. Anything you can do. All right, let's move on. I wanted to talk about something with you, Jose, for this episode, because I think a lot of people starting out in bodybuilding, they look to what the pros are doing they look to these advanced routines of someone like yourself, who's been doing this for 30, 35 years already. You know, the way you're training now, the way you're eating now, and that's typically not the way you were doing it when you were younger and you were building your base, your foundation. So it's kind of like someone who needs to learn how to drive a car, trying to emulate like a NASCAR driver or something. You need to learn the basics first. You need to build a foundation, get all that going first. So that's what I want to start with, because I think there's a lot of kids out there, a lot of young guys who are getting into bodybuilding, and they're kind of confused, especially nowadays, because there's so much information. You think that'd be a good thing. I think it can be so confusing to them. They don't know what to do. They see this option, that option, and they just don't know what to do because there's too much information overload. So I know you're excellent at really laying out the basics, giving people a basic primer education. So here's a kid, say he's like 16, 17, 18 years old. He comes to you. How should I train? How should I train? I want to be at your level someday, or as close as I can genetically be to maximize my physique. What should I be doing? What kind of training should I be doing in the early stages?
So it's interesting. I get messages all the time, or I talk to people in the gym, or I talk to anyone, and a lot of the bodybuilders will say, and even bikini girls that I've met, and I'm like, oh, you looking to compete? They're like, oh, I'd love to, but I don't have any gear. And I'm like, what? You're doing bikini? Like they are misinformed, or the first thing they say is, I don't have a coach. I'd love to, but I don't have a coach. I love to, but I don't have gear. I'm like, these are all the wrong messages right away. They're learning the wrong things. The best bodybuilders in the world didn't start out with a coach or didn't start out with gear. It's pretty crazy to me, but I was blessed enough to have an older brother and older brothers that were weight training at a young age. So I started doing it really young. But the best thing for me was to just go out and do it. Just go to the gym and practice what you see, try to read up on things. I mean, there is information overload. There's almost too much out there and you don't know what to believe. But just look at look at a bodybuilder who you have respect for and go through one of their pages, like Evan. I would go through Evan's page. I would go through Nick Walker's page. Look how to perform exercises properly. I like watching Ian Valier's page recently. That guy, his form is impeccable. He's moving crazy weight. That might not be the right message out of the gate to move that much weight, but look how they're doing things. Everything's controlled. They're using their muscles. They're not just throwing weights around. And then there's people that give out tons of free information, like John Meadows. Go scroll through his YouTube, and he's doing constantly free tutelage of whether it's exercises or nutrition. Evan does a lot of free nutrition stuff, how to prepare your food. And there is tons of great information out there. That's what we do. When we do these videos, these podcasts are basically laying it out there of how to do certain things. If anyone has specific questions regarding nutrition or training, then we can answer it. Like that's what we do. Don't come at us with a blanket statement, because it would take too long. But if it's very specific, simple, usually we can cover it quickly for you. But just practice doing it. I learned along the way on my own. As I said, I did have an older brother that was very smart in nutrition and taught me a lot, but I learned on my own through trial and error and what works for me and what worked for me and how much effort I had to put in. And that was a big thing with me. Is at the beginning, I thought, cardio was riding my bike around the lake in Wakefield for a couple times, you know?
Yeah, well, it was.
Yeah, it really, I guess it was, but it wasn't real cardio. I never got into true condition until I started getting on the step mill and hammering away,
Yeah.
and getting my heart rate up and just being soaked after a session of cardio. But
Let's back it up, because what I want to get into is at one point here is, you know, I think they see the way they read a routine of a bodybuilder who's been doing it, a pro who's already been training for 20 years. This guy probably doesn't, a lot of them don't do the basics anymore. They might not squat anymore. They might not bench press anymore. They might not deadlift anymore. They might spend a whole day doing arms, where when they were 15, 16, 18 years old, they were doing like almost maybe whole body routines. They would come in the gym and do squat, deadlift, bench press, chin ups, rows, just a handful of really solid, basic, mostly compound barbell movements. Take the next day off, eat a bunch of food, sleep, come back and do it again another day. And you know, that's how most people who are huge, that's how they started out. That's how they built their foundation. But like I said, if you're following a routine of a guy who's already been training for 20 years, he doesn't train like that anymore. He doesn't need to. It might not even be safe for him to. He might have injuries that prevent him from doing. But like a lot of kids, they don't bench press, they don't squat, they don't deadlift, because they see these advanced guys who don't do it, and they figure, well, I can just do some cable stuff and some machines, and I'll look just like them. But you know, like you, when you started out, what were the main exercises you remember doing as a, geez, you were like 8, 9 years old, weren't you?
yeah, I started doing bench presses and curls and pull-ups and all the basics. I didn't squat because I didn't have any apparatus in my house to do that. But I did a lot of the, you know, pull-ups and arm curls and shoulder presses and bench presses. We made a push down machine and a pull down machine out of like a clothes, you know, those things that roll on a clothesline.
Yeah.
We set that up so you could pull a rope down the clothesline.
Nice.
And do push downs. But you know who's got a great, for what I think, for beginners is Jordan Peters, his push-pull legs system of training. That is great for beginners because they're not overloading their mind with too many different varieties of things. You know, they do a push day, they do a pull day, and they do a leg day. Simple as that.
Yeah. So just to clarify for people to understand, because that's been around, that concept has been around for many, many years. That's how I train. So guys, push day would be all your pushing, your chest, your shoulders, your triceps. That's when you do your bench presses, your shoulder presses, your skull crushers, your dips. Pull day, you can do your chin ups, your barbell rolls, your deadlift, your barbell curls. Legs is obviously legs. And it works so well because you could do those 3 days in a row and there's really very little overlap between the days. So you're not going to have an overtraining issue with the muscles. And you can either you can put days off in anywhere you really need to. I think that's pretty close to the ideal routine for a beginner.
Yeah, I do too. And there's not too much overthinking. There's not too much individual, like fancy exercises. You're pushing, you're pulling, and you're training legs. And that's a great way to build the foundation of your body. And that's essentially how I trained once I really got into regular training, because it was mostly for football, for athletics, for wrestling. So I did a lot of squat, deadlift, push presses, cleans, bench presses. We didn't spend a whole lot of time doing side raises or, you know, rear delt raises or bicep curls, concentration curls, stuff like that. It was mostly power movements of you know, that built a foundation of, you know, your core, your legs, your glutes, your chest and shoulders. And that's a great way to begin. It's a great way to simplify it. And then, you know, as you learn more and you go along, learn more about your body, what you need, what your weaknesses are, then you can start focusing on specialized exercises. But at the beginning, just keep it simple.
Yeah, you know, there's an old saying from the even older than us. They used to say, take care of the big muscles and the little muscles will take care of themselves. So when you're focusing on all these compound movements, you know, you don't really need to worry about your biceps that much if you're doing hundreds of pounds on your barbell rows and deadlifts and chin-ups, your biceps are getting worked very hard. If you're bench pressing a lot, incline pressing, dips, your triceps, they're taken care of. Legs, obviously, that's its other thing. But, I think a lot of, like you said, a lot of guys, these football coaches, they had it right. You don't need to spend a ton of time in your early years doing the isolation movements and worrying, oh, what about this head of my deltoid and the inner head of my tricep? If you get very strong, and that's another thing I want you to talk about, because, becoming stronger, becoming bigger, they're not exactly the same thing. You can train for strength and you won't, if you're training for pure strength, you can get very strong without getting a lot bigger. So how important is it for these young guys starting out to try to keep getting stronger, and what rep range would you have them working in as beginners?
I think strength is just going to be a side effect of what you're doing. It's more about doing it perfectly, doing it. The young guys that focus on performing the exercises perfectly, they'll get stronger faster than the guys that are just winging stuff around. So that's the biggest thing I could say is learn how to do each movement absolutely perfect. As you do it, you'll gradually be able to add a little bit more weight, and you'll get stronger just from doing it the right way.
Yeah.
Strength will come. It shouldn't be the end all be all out of the gate.
Yeah.
As you get older and you've perfected everything, then you can worry about numbers. That's the only thing I don't necessarily agree with the push-pull thing and the logbook, beating the logbook.
Yeah.
Because if you say it, oh, I'm going in today to squat, and last week I squatted 445, this week I got to squat 455. Yeah. But I didn't sleep last night. I didn't get my meals in. It doesn't always, you're not always going to beat the logbook. And that's when you can cause some problems, whether it be injuries or failure. You failed and now you had a shit day. Yeah. When you could actually go in and figure out a way to make it a positive day, if you're not just trying to beat a logbook. So I don't always agree with that, but I do agree with the simplicity of it. Yeah. I'm not always a strength guy. I always wanted to be stronger. That was, but it wasn't my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal was to look stronger. And, just through the years, I was able to move more and more weight. It does lead to injury, though. I can promise you, whether you're a bodybuilder or a powerlifter, the injuries are going to come. They're going to sneak up on you, particularly if you're moving a ton of weight.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get into nutrition a little bit, because that's another thing. I think there's even more confusing information to these young guys now about nutrition online and on social media. I have them hitting me up with these questions, and it's one of those things where they're so focused on the little details, they're like missing the big picture. It's like, what should my macros be? How many calories? How many grams of this and that? And I say, when you're just starting out, just try to eat unless you have a weight problem, unless you're overweight, try to eat as much good food as possible. By good food, I don't mean McDonald's. I don't mean shit like that. Doritos, chicken, fish, turkey, lean cuts of red beef, eggs, potatoes, rice, oatmeal, some fruits, some vegetables. It's fairly simple, but again, I think it's getting overcomplicated just because there's so many people now that really have cashed in on doing meal plans and diets, and they don't want you to think it's that simple, because then you won't buy their meal plan or hire them or whatever. So you're talking to an 18, 20-year-old kid. It's like, how should I eat to put on muscle, Jose?
Well, first off, there's a good reason that nutrition is a lot more complicated. Because with weight training, there is a basic principle that works for the human body. For muscles, overload, they're going to grow, period. Perform the exercise properly, safely, and you're going to get results. Where with nutrition, you have things like allergies and things that, you may not be able to eat the things that I eat. I run into that a lot. Right? And people just don't like fish. Some people gag at the thought of eating fish or chicken or, so definitely a lot more intricacies when it comes to nutrition. But again, there are basic principles, like you said, just eat clean, eat enough of it. If you're losing weight, eat more. If you're gaining weight, eat less. You know, that is the basic premise of it. And let me tell you, I never counted a macro in my life. I never even weighed a meal until I was many years into my pro career.
Wow.
So I used to just eyeball stuff and be like, oh, that looks like enough, you know. And then if I was not losing weight, I would cut back a little, or I'd add some more cardio. I would make sure that I was burning more than I was taking in if I wanted to lose weight. And if I wanted to gain weight, I'd make sure I was taking in more than I was burning. It was a pretty simple concept.
Yeah.
But as you get more advanced, you might want to start measuring. You know, I started weighing my food once I started with a coach, and I wanted to, because he was telling me, oh, 10 ounces of this, 10 ounces of that. Then I realized I was never eating near enough food.
Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't even close. I used to go by the palm of my fist, you know, and if, yeah, it looks plenty. I was probably eating 6 ounces, when in reality, you know, I should have been eating 8 to 10. So, you know, what do they do? You could hire a coach, but there are so many books out there that the information is there. Just learn about it. You know, the average book, though, is not going to tell you how to become a 230-pound bodybuilder, because the amount of food that guy needs to take in is just not healthy. It is not of the norm. So, you know, but read up, learn what everything is, learn how many calories are in each type of food. That's a simple, basic start. You know, how many calories are in a carb, a fat, a gram of protein. And then discover your body. Like, what can you tolerate? What can't you tolerate? And go from there. That's the simplest, most basic thing possible. And you know, continue to get blood work done. If you've never gotten it done, get it done and see what you're deficient in. I recently did blood work, and it's amazing the different things that I am deficient in. And you know, it's funny because I eat cream of rice every morning.
Yeah.
And supposedly a serving of cream of rice is like 5 times the daily dose of iron that you need. Yet I am deficient in iron, which doesn't make sense.
Are you menstruating?
I'm not. And I no longer have bleeding hemorrhoids, and I don't have an ulcer that I know of. So it's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting stuff here. And but you know, those are the things that you can do. Yeah. You know, learn yourself, learn about the foods. It's not that difficult. If you're in high school and you're interested in this stuff, then you should be taking courses where you can study it and learn about it. Those are my favorite classes: nutrition and anatomy and physiology. That I learned so much about myself, you know, taking those classes in high school and college, particularly college, where it actually meant something to me.
What was your major? Exercise science?
Yeah, exactly. So I was taking classes that I was interested in. That's why college was so much more fun for me.
Yeah.
I called myself a human cheat sheet. You know, I would look at myself and you know, during kinesiology tests and whatever, I would be able to, remember the motions and the planes and all that. So
just going back to something you said about, you know, you underestimate how much you ate. And I think that's very, very common with guys, young guys, especially because, you know, typically we have young, fast metabolisms when we're young, and we require a lot more calories than we might even think to put us into that surplus where we're actually able to gain. Because so many guys I talk to, they say, I'm eating so much. I say, are you gaining any weight? They say, no. I said, you need to eat more. And they go, I can't eat more. And when they actually explain how much they're eating, it's not that much. To eat, you still eat the same way as you always have every 2 to 3 hours, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a serving of protein, carbs, every 2 to 3 hours from the time you wake up, time you go to bed, it comes out to typically anywhere from 5 to 6 solid meals and maybe a shake in there. It doesn't have to be complicated. Another thing I want to mention is I was pretty broke when I started out doing this. I don't think you had much money either. You don't have to have steak and fresh fish from the fish market and all that stuff. I ate a lot of tuna out of the can. I ate a lot of eggs, chicken thigh instead of chicken breast. You can do it pretty economically. You don't have to.
This right here is a staple in my life. I've
Yeah,
been eating this. This is 2 cups of Jasmine Rice.
Yeah.
And this is 6.5 ounces of tuna. I'd usually have 1 big one and 1 small packet. And that would be a meal right there. 2 cups of rice and this.
Yeah.
So this is 84 grams of carbs from just under 2 cups of rice, supposedly. And this is probably around 50 grams of protein.
Yeah. And the tuna, the rice looks like you'd have to take it out and cook it, right? But the tuna, you just rip that open, you could eat it right out of that, couldn't you?
Yeah, this is a microwave. You rip the thing and then 90 seconds and you got delicious Jasmine Rice ready to go.
There you go, guys. You can take that anywhere with you if you have a job with a break room and a microwave.
Yeah, this is a good meal for $5.
Shit, yeah.
Right here. Every day of my life I have it. Every day.
Oh, you're still eating tuna.
Every day, because it's simple.
I know, but I ate so much tuna in my 20s. I never want to eat tuna again. It's the smell of it just but yeah.
Well, I travel so much, when I train, I go to whether I'm traveling on a plane or driving to General Fitness to work out.
I mean, you drive
and a half for me.
You're all over the state, or you go down to Rhode Island, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
So
need to have stuff.
I need to have a meal ready. And those are meals that I don't have to necessarily keep refrigerated.
Right. Yeah.
I microwave the rice before I leave the house. I leave it in a Tupperware.
Yeah.
And then at some point on the ride home, I'll slug the shake when I'm at the gym. But within an hour of driving, I need to eat.
Yeah.
So I always have one of those in my gym bag, always.
Are you sitting around driving while you're spooning shit out of a Tupperware?
Yeah, I'm one of those assholes. Yeah. But typically when we drive to General Fitness or Impact or any of those gyms, Nate's driving.
Yeah. I'm saying you should have a driver so you can just focus on chowing down. Perfect.
But once in a while I have him feed me. Nate's my bitch on the side. He just he spoon feeds me while I'm driving.
If you guys got a girl, that's a good job for us. Feed you while you drive.
Yeah.
Not ashamed to say I've had that done to me many times.
But there are many different things that you can do to make it easier. We've all, a couple of years ago when the what are they called? The cooler bags were exploding. Every company had a cooler bag, and for good reason, because they're pretty cool. They make them that look like handbags. Yeah. They usually have a pocket for all your stuff, your wallet and all that, keys, whatever, your phone. And then there's a pocket for the cooler. Yep. There's a pocket for your drinks, for your protein powder or whatever, Yeah. There's no excuse to have no food with you. So, once you understand that and you establish that in your regimen, it becomes very easy, The thing with bodybuilders is that every day is Groundhog Day for us. Yeah. We get up the same day, and that's the only way it works. You got to get up and especially when I'm training for something, I get up, take a piss, grab a bottle of water and get on the treadmill. Yep. I get sweating 30, 40 minutes, whatever. I immediately get off, start cooking my breakfast. No matter what time I have to be to work, I'll do that. I'll make the adjustment. I'll eat that meal, then I'll prepare all whatever meals I got to take with me. If it's real early, maybe I'll prepare the food the night before. But the key is preparation. Always have food with you. and always be ready, and always have an idea of what you can get away with if you don't have food. If you got to stop, sometimes Dunkin' Donuts has those little egg white wraps. You can get 4 of those, 4 or 5 of those, bang those out. You know, you can go to certain places and get a salad with grilled chicken on it. Whatever, you know, just know where you can do that, and just always be prepared.
And I mean, these days, guys, especially you kids, if you have one of these, dude, you put it in your, you know, with the Google Maps, whatever, you can find somewhere with clean food, usually within a few miles of you, no matter where you are in the United States anyway.
Right.
So, you know, what Jose is getting at is consistency. It's that's how you build a physique. It's training consistently. It's eating consistently. It's getting enough sleep consistently, day after day after day. Yeah, it's Groundhog Day. It's very repetitive, but that's how it's done. Put on a tiny little bit more muscle every day. Tiny, so much can barely be measured probably. But over time, it's like, you know, pennies in a jar. It builds up, 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 and eventually, you know, take pictures. And a year from now, you're way bigger than you were a year ago. And a year after that, you're bigger still, and so on and so on. You know, a few pounds, even if it's only a few pounds of muscle, which people think that's like nothing. If you put on 5 to 7 pounds of muscle every year, do the math, 10 years, that's 50 to 70 pounds pure muscle mass on your body. You look like a completely different person.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Living proof right there. 100 pounds of muscle you've had.
There was an age between 18 and 35. I put on muscle relatively easy. 18 and 40, 41 even.
Yeah.
I put on between 37 and 41. I put on, I'd say 5 or 6 pounds of muscle, maybe more.
Commendable.
Yeah, that's because that's when I started eating way more. That's when I started measuring my food around 37 years old.
So you didn't have a coach until you were 37.
No.
So guys, he'd already won earned his pro card 5 times before he had a coach. So again, going back to what you said at the very beginning, you don't have to have a coach. You can learn, you can research, you can use trial and error. You can do a lot on your own. And when you get to a level where you need that extra help, somebody to guide you, there's plenty of help out there available to you, but don't think you can't do it on your own. Just like don't think you can't get any bigger or stronger naturally. That boggles my mind that there's so many kids now that think, well, I don't have any gear, I can't start training yet. Really, they don't think you can put on an ounce of muscle without gear. It's unfortunate because, you know, you and I were very naive probably back in the old days. We didn't know that we had to have gear to get bigger. So we just got bigger and stronger anyway. And then, you know, later we found out about gear, but I'm glad I didn't know about it at the beginning, because maybe it would have put that limitation in my head where, oh no, I can't get any bigger. I'm gonna stay 110 pounds forever. Yeah.
I think if you know how to get bigger naturally, then you will get bigger exponentially with the supplements, with the gear.
Totally agree.
You know, those are the ones like I hate to harp on it, but you know, you look at Ronnie and Kai, like they didn't just get bigger. They morphed into a exponentially bigger human. Yeah. And people are going to say, well, they just started doing more gear. No. They already knew how to grow. Right. They already knew how to train. They already knew their nutrition. Then they mastered the art of putting it all together.
I mean, I don't want to put you on the chopping block here, but I think you're a perfect example. You competed in your first pro show before you used anything. And people thought, well, he was on gear all that time. Like, dude, he was like 150, 160 pounds. Come on. And then, you know, a couple of years later, he's competing over 200 pounds. You would not have made that leap if you had been on gear since you were like 12, the way people would want to believe.
Put it this way. It took me 16 years to put on 20, 25 pounds of muscle. And then when I started, it took me 3 months to put on 18 more.
Yeah. But like you said, you knew your body, you knew how to train, you knew how to eat. You were already a very, very advanced bodybuilder at that point when you introduced the extra stuff. Whereas they're doing it ass backwards now. Before they don't even know how to do a proper bench press. And they're like, oh, get me some tren. Where can I get some Anavar, some D-ball, whatever. But hopefully.
Because there are coaches out there that tell people that they need it.
Right.
I mean, because every Tom, Dick, and Harry is a coach. So I'd say every third one is a dildo. It's someone that is just like, yeah, you got to get Tren. Tren is the best. You got to get, you won't grow at all without Tren and all this other bullshit. There's stuff I hear on a daily basis. I can't even believe it.
Yeah. If your coach, guys, is offering you drugs and you're just starting out training, move on. This guy is bad news. It's not going to end well for you. Trust me. It's only going to get worse.
Or if you're communicating with a coach and your first question is about drugs and that coach doesn't set you straight, then I would question the coach. He should immediately say, dude, let's slow down. Let's see if you even know how to train. Let's see if you can eat properly for a week straight.
Right. Learn how to walk before you can run.
Yeah. The person doesn't want to do any cardio, doesn't want to cut their calories, but they're wondering if DMP will help.
That's a pet peeve of mine. I know coaches, I'm not going to put them on blast, but I do know coaches that have their clients on DMP constantly just so that they can eat a bunch of shit food on a regular basis. So they're happy. They're not deprived. Not cool.
Well,
not cool.
That's one way to look at it.
So anyway, I know, Jose, you are an excellent coach. Are you available right now or are you full up on clients?
No, I'm always available. I never have more than 8 to 10 people at a time. I don't understand. Like some of these people, like I have 200 people, 300. That's crazy.
You know
How
what
do
they
you
do?
communicate?
Copy, paste, send. That's it. That's what they do.
That's crazy.
Everybody gets the same diet, the same workout. Yeah.
I'm a little stupid. The majority of the people I coach have my cell phone, and I tell them, if for some reason you email me and I don't get back to you, in an appropriate time, just text me and tell me that you sent me an email or whatever. I have the utmost communication with people that I work with.
Yeah.
So
that's another red flag, guys. If your coach doesn't get back to you after like a day or two, bye-bye. Bye-bye. Unless they fell off a mountain or something. I don't know.
Yeah, if they're not willing to communicate with you, that's the biggest deal. And that's why I tell them all, make sure if you don't hear back from me, text me, because my phone is always next to me, but I don't have like my email notifications on, or my phone would be blowing up all day.
Yeah, it would. Cool. Yeah. Well, guys, you can reach Jose on Instagram at the Boston Mass. You can also get him via email. There's a link, what do they call that thing? Like a contact on thebostonmass.com. Also has all kinds of cool merchandise, shirts. What else you got? Hats, tank tops.
Yep.
Waist trainers. I don't know what you got on there. You got to check it.
No, Santi's got the waist trainer. Santi, Paragon waist trainer. He sent me an awesome one recently. That guy's a machine. He is pumping it out.
Good for him. So that's it, guys. Those are the plugs. I want you to check out Jose's Instagram, the Boston Mass, the bostonmass.com website, and right here on YouTube, his channel, the Boston Mass, does all kinds of podcasts, interviews, workout stuff with his buddy Nate, going all around the general area and beyond. Very, very cool channel you need to check out. And of course, like we talked about in the beginning, there's a link under here for Dusty Hanshaw for his GoFundMe with his medical expenses. If you can contribute anything at all, it would be greatly appreciated. Every little bit helps. And that's it. Jose, thank you so much for doing this once again. What a great show. Everyone loves No Way Jose. They do.
Good. Thanks again, Ron. I really appreciate it. And Dusty, we love you, brother. And can't wait to talk to you once you're up and going.
Yeah. All right. Everybody, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, share, comment, like, all that good crap. And we'll see you next time.
All right. Peace.
Man, buddy.